The challenge to truly learning a language, any language, is that you have to enter into that culture, think its thoughts, and live its perspective. How do you do that with an ancient language? This is a place where the ancient world comes to life. The difficulty with learning any language is becoming immersed in the language, kind of using it and seeing it how the original people use it and see it every day, instead of just learning the grammar or learning bits and pieces of it and trying to decode it.
You're learning almost like a child would, where at first you're just hearing it, and really just trying to absorb it. And then after a while, you're able to get intuition for what the language might look like and start using it instead of just reading and then writing it. Once you get there, you're starting to understand really small details of the grammar that you really don't pick up on if you're just looking at straight translation.
Pulse is really good at creating those experiences, those active experiences, the discussions. Being able to speak the language is quite a bit different and more difficult than just reading it. You have to be able to quickly make those associations and quickly make those transitions and understanding.
The Pulse method is inspired by recent developments in second language acquisition, where languages are taught in communicative methods, so like the Ulpan program in Israel, where students learn completely in this immersive method. But what's unique about Pulse is the teachers and developers of the Pulse method have taken these principles of teaching modern languages and applied them to ancient languages. So rather than learning to analyze the language, to dissect the language, to translate the language, as most students traditionally learn these languages, the student tastes in the language, lives in the language, communicates in the language. You are immersed in the world of the language.
Εγώ και βουλόμαι αναγνώς και τους γραφές.
The Pulse method draws on a number of methods of second language acquisition that have been developed in modern language teaching pedagogy. But there's one method that we have been developing here at Pulse, which is living sequential expression, LSE. So what living sequential expression does is it maps out these common sequences in life and then teaches those sequences in a classroom setting. So take getting on the bus. We would have the students sitting in a classroom, an imaginary bus in the middle of the room and a bus stop. Somebody's the bus driver, and then we have a student and we say, walk to the bus stop. So the student walks to the bus stop. Wait for the bus. The student waits for the bus. Get on the bus. The student gets on the bus. So they act out that sequence, doing it with their bodies as if they're doing it.
Πρόσελθε το χαμαξέι. Αγόρασον το σύμβολο. Κάθισον.
And then they describe their experience. So I am now walking to the bus stop. I am waiting for the bus. I am getting on the bus. I am approaching the driver. And you begin to express that real life experience in the sequence of the connected actions. And it's quite incredible what happens for students when they go through this process, because your ability to remember that sequence is very powerful and intuitive, because these are sequences that our minds are so attuned to.
My previous college focuses mainly on reading original works from the history of the Western culture, starting with the Greeks, Romans, then moving on to the Renaissance type texts. Their language courses focus mostly on the grammar-based approach, as opposed to Poolis, which does a living language approach. And so throughout the day, even when I'm not in class or studying necessarily, I can get used to speaking out loud or even thinking to myself, different phrases and practicing in it.
You start beginning to look at this language like a native speaker might. And so you're in an environment where it is spoken around you, just in context of everyday conversation. And so you gain a new appreciation for the language as well as understanding words within their native context rather than just looking at a lexicon and seeing some static definition.
Poolis is a great method for learning not only ancient languages but also modern languages.
قديش بصير عمره اليوم؟ وانت بس سالمة.
بس إذا ما شو اسم بشكل عام؟
كل المواسير شبكة المواسير.
في البيت يعني وفي البناية في البيت.
أيوة شبكة.
We are an UN family. We have decided to live in East Jerusalem where the Arab community is bigger, so our will was really to be able to communicate with our neighbors, with people. When I go around and do my errands or just meet people, it is nice to greet them in their own language and to hear them talking to me, and I'm able to reply, which is a great achievement.
Jerusalem is a city rich with history from multiple different cultures over a long period of time. Jewish history, Roman, Byzantine, Arabic. So being able to be in a city where all of those cultures and all that history is still very much apparent has been a great benefit.
You can go to these sites and see them written and see what we're actually learning about in person, and then apply the languages to those contexts. And so if you're on a historical geography trip and you're looking at Greek inscriptions in sight, which is really amazing, you can't really get that many other places. And so it just adds another layer to the understanding. It's really diving into these places, and when you're there, it really makes it a lot more real.
The Poolis method is always in development. We have an amazing team of linguists and philologists, language scholars, historians, historical geographers, and we're constantly incorporating new insights of academic research in language pedagogy, second language acquisition, philology, and all of these fields.